I need you to get out the handout we were working on last class, number 4. So I will, since you guys are ready to go, I'll try to give you a couple minutes of just quick, fast review of what we talked about, and then we'll continue on. Okay, so that's your correct seat. And then normally if I hand out for you, I'll put them right here. Everybody else already picked them up, so I move them over here. So you need 1, 2, and 3. Everybody is here? Wow. Okay. I'm glad I scared nobody else yesterday. Okay, so yesterday we started talking, obviously we got cut off pretty short. Again, 7th period is new for me. I haven't had a 7th period since we've done 7th periods like this, so just bear with me. But I think as long as we make the best use of our time, it'll probably be like one class is probably a little heavier, and then the catch-up class will be a little bit lighter. So I think today will be a little bit shorter. So I can see what we did. Okay, so again, since you guys are ready to go, I'll be willing to do this real quick, but we talked about how a limit is different than a point. We saw that in example 1. A limit is the y value a graph approaches from both the left and the right. Then if you can do that type of limit where you have to think about both left and right, you can certainly do a one-sided limit where you might only care about what y value is it approaching from the left of that x value or the right of that x value. You just have to know this notation. And then we ran out of time, right? Or wait, did I have you guys try this little group here? Okay, great. Yeah. So you already have those done. So I don't have the answers up here. I'm going to work them on the fly, partly because I want you to see that once you get the grasp of this, honestly, these are pretty nice and quick questions. So let me do the fast version first, and then I'll be happy to go over any of them in depth that you disagree with or were unsure about. Okay, so -2 from the left gets closer to a y value of 1. -2 from the right gets closer to a y value of -2. If the value from the left and the right's not the same, then on the both limit, it doesn't exist. Good with that? Okay. Then the limit as x approaches 1, that doesn't say left or right, which means it has to be the same. And from both sides, it approaches 1. As x approaches 0 from both sides, it approaches a y value of -2. 3 only from the left gets closer to a y value of 5. -1 approaches -3 from the left and -3 from the right. Sorry, I might have said this one, but I was working that one. -3 approaches 0 from the left and the right. And then the last two, what's the big difference with the last two?
They're both points.
Right, these are points. Understanding the difference between a point and a limit and a one-sided limit is really the chunk that you need to be pretty comfortable with here. So when x is -2, y is 1, and when x is 1, y was what? -2, thank you. Okay, so again, I don't have the answers here, and I was working them quick enough that I could have made a mistake. That's certainly possible, but these don't take a ton of effort if you know what you're looking for. So if you're struggling, put in a little bit of time, make sure that you're caught up with that. Okay, is there any of these that you had something different on, you disagree on, or you just thought it was harder than the rest and you want me to discuss it in actual detail? Okay, if y'all don't say anything, I have to assume that means no. Yes, sir.
D.
D? Okay, so the limit of f of x, really we're assuming this graph is f of x. We shouldn't assume that, but it's the only one we have. So as x approaches 1. So my guess would be that you might have said -2 for that answer. Is that what you got? Okay, so you're falling into that trap of limits versus points. If I ask you a point, when x is 1, y is -2. But remember, limits don't care what's happening at that value, they care what it's approaching. So what I tried to push on you yesterday is if that's hard for your brain to accept right now, just completely cross off that x value so you can't even see it. It's approaching 1 from the right, it's approaching 1 from the left, and since it approached 1 from the left and right, that's how I got that. Doesn't matter if the point's there, doesn't matter if it's completely missing, it doesn't matter if that point is just somewhere high up or down below. Points and limits measuring two different things. So don't get hung up on the point. But thank you for the question, I do appreciate that. Okay, one more maybe? Okay. So I think you could probably answer one of these from what we talked about last class or even brought up now, but I need you to get used to the saying it in the efficient math way, and then there's a couple more ways that you may not think of. So yesterday when we talked about limits, we got some does not exist answers, and I think we even got some above. When does a limit not exist? When would you say D and E? Yeah.
When you're approaching a different y value from the left than you are on the right.
Very good. So in math terms, we can say as x approaches that number from the left, it's not the same thing as when you approach that number from the right. Now I'm putting a here. A is just some generic number. I'm not putting the number 2 there because I don't want you to think it only works as x approaches 2. It works as if the limit from the left doesn't equal the limit from the right, it does not exist. Now again, this is like a math way to say the same thing that she said verbally, but on FRQs, if you had to justify your answer, why does this limit not exist, you either need to be comprehensive enough in your verbal explanation, which is usually problematic, or just say this. This is the math way of saying whatever it is from the left wasn't the same as from the right. That's sufficient. Okay, I gave you 0 heads up about the other two, but does anyone have a guess you want to throw out?
Like if just the left limit doesn't exist? Like if it asymptotes in one chord but it doesn't in another?
I'm not sure if you're saying the exact right thing, but you are very close when you're saying asymptotes. So remember, sometimes you guys did like some rational function stuff that looks like this, and maybe there's an asymptote at x equals 2, right? So let me ask you this. What is the limit as x approaches 2 from the right of this? What would you say that answer is? Very good. It's infinity. Do you see how this goes straight up? Well, infinity is a concept. Infinity is not a number because you can't reach it. So on multiple choice, sometimes it might say infinity, or it might say does not exist. Technically, since you can't reach infinity, we say that it doesn't exist. So if you were approaching, if you had a limit, if it was equal to infinity, infinity is the same thing as does not exist. So Leslie, is that what you were going for?
Yeah,
okay, good deal. All right, and then you could probably guess the third one, right? If it's not infinity, negative infinity. So if you have any limit where it goes down forever, your answer might be negative infinity, or it might be does not exist. Multiple choice, you pick the one answer that's there. Both answers would not be there. Free response, both answers are correct, but I would recommend you say does not exist. Because if you accidentally said negative infinity and the answer was positive infinity, all of a sudden it's wrong. If you say does not exist, that's like a vaguer, also correct answer. So that's the other ways that we could have limits that don't exist. But the main one is this one. The limit from the left doesn't equal the limit from the right. That's the one that we talked about a lot yesterday. Okay, I've got one more type of question, this example 4, that you will have a couple of these to do. Again, most of today will give you some actual time to practice more of this than I gave you yesterday. And this is, again, mostly a test on notation. Can you tell the difference between what this information tells us versus this information, etc.? Now, these graphs can have more than one correct answer. There's infinitely many correct answers to these. Yours will be acceptable if all 5 of these things are true at the end. So when you look at this first clue, what is this telling me? Yeah.
At 3, y equals -1.
Good. So that's really just the point, right? So in the end, if you don't have the point 3, -1, there's no chance your answer's right. That's got to be there. Okay, this one says that as x approaches 3, you're supposed to have a limit of 4. So as x gets closer to 3, it's got to get close to 4 from the left and the right. Now, I have no idea if this is what it looks like. I will worry about that later. I just want to make sure that as x approaches 3 from the left and the right, you get 4 both times. Okay, complete side note, but I do have some conflicting information already. What's going on with my graph that doesn't make sense? Yeah.
The point at 3 is filled in, and that intersects with the point at 4, so it wouldn't be a function. Or the point at 3, there's 2 points, at 4 and -1.
Okay, so they're saying 3, -1 is a point. We know that from this clue. So how is 3, 4 a point?
Well,
That doesn't pass the, there's a test for that.
Yeah.
And a vertical line test tells you if this is a function. So not really important right now, but because they say this is a function, this has to pass the vertical line test. So if the point has to be down here, technically there can't be a point up here. So you need to make an open circle. Again, not the most important thing right now, but technically that's true. Okay, and then you just go through these clues one at a time. So the limit as x approaches -2 from the left or the right should be 1. So again, I don't know, I'm just doing that. From the right of -2, it approaches a y value of 1. It says this function is supposed to be increasing from -2 to 3. What does increasing mean on a graph?
As you go towards the right, the y values also go up.
Great, perfect explanation. So these, I don't want to mess up C, and I don't want to mess up B, but I need to make sure that this is increasing during those times. So I'm just connecting them. It's increasing. It's going up the whole time. So again, you can make that look wildly different and still be true. Okay, and then finally, the last one that we have to do, and then we'll check, the limit as x approaches -2 from the left needs to be bigger than the limit as x approaches -2 from the right. Well, they already told me the limit as x approaches -2 from the right is supposed to be 1, so I need it to approach something bigger from the left. You can pick 2, you could pick 1.1, you could pick 4, I don't know, doesn't really matter. Like I said, there's infinitely many correct answers. The only way for you to really check these is once you think you were done with your graph, make sure you didn't mess anything up. My point's still there, this limit still looks fine, that limit still looks fine, this is increasing like it asked, and this limit is bigger than that limit. If all of those are true, then you can assume your graph is fine. Okay with that? Because you'll have 2 or 3 of those here in just a bit. Okay, I think the last thing before I can give you a little bit more freedom is I want us to do this example 5 together, but I want to give you a chance to do it first. So same kind of idea, but these are true, false. So use that graph to the right, T for true, F for false, and then we'll discuss them. And then I will give you directions and let you move forward. Maria, do you have a brother?
Joseph.
Yep. He was a great student, but I had him the year that we had hybrid, virtual. So I think I only saw him one day a week, but so it was pretty rough year, but he was a great student. Okay, I guess I should have verbalized this earlier. Obviously, some people are going to feel more comfortable with this. Some of you all learned this last year, some of you didn't. I realize some of you are going to finish this quicker than others. So a suggestion, obviously when I go over these, I need you to go back and make sure you're doing it correctly. If you're doing something wrong, now is the time to fix it. Don't just keep thinking you're doing it right until you get a test and then you miss it on the test or something. But if you're finished and you're just waiting on everybody else, the next page has some questions that you can practice that are like the ones we've already talked about. I'm going to ask you to do those anyway, so if you move on yourself, 9 times out of 10, that's just going to be that much less that you need to do outside of class. So, rejoin me when I pull you back on the board, but I'm trying to be patient for people so they can actually think through this carefully. But if you're just sitting there waiting, make a good use of your time and work ahead.
I'm not.
False. It's not for me up to just like what
It's as x approaches 2. Why isn't? I don't know.
both sides. It's approaching the same way like both sides. Isn't it?
Actually,
Flat
yeah.
out.
Never mind. So it was just B and G.
Okay, if you would, jump back to the true false if you moved ahead. Okay, do you get more true answers or more false answers? Okay, in fact, I think all of them were true except for one. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, which one was not correct?
G.
Okay, so the limit as x approaches 2. So here's 2. So, well, there's a hole there. Doesn't that mean it doesn't exist?
No.
It means the point doesn't exist. It doesn't mean the limit doesn't exist. Again, completely cover this up with your pencil if you need to. Don't let your brain even look at this. It approaches 2 from the left. It approaches 2 from the right. So this limit does exist. The limit should be 2. We don't care what's happening at that x value. We care what it's approaching. So all the others should be true. That one is false. So any of the others that you got false on that you want me to show on the board? Yes, sir.
C and E.
C and E. Thank you again for the questions. Okay, so 1 from the left. So here's x equals 1. So from the left, you would need to pick an x value slightly less than 1. Get closer and closer. It looks like it's approaching a y value of 1. So that looks fine.
Okay, I thought a different number in my head, sorry.
No, that's not a problem. Okay, and then as x approaches 1, well, it approaches 1 from the left of 1, that's a mouthful, and it approaches 2 from the right of 1. So if it's a different number from the left and from the right, it does not exist. That is true, too. You okay with those? Okay. Anybody else? Again, I don't like to rush, but I also don't want to waste your time. Okay, then you can see on the next pages, so we practiced some of this yesterday. So there's like 5 little sets of these for you to try. Again, some of these are points, some are one-sided limits, some are two-sided limits. You need to know the difference and how to extract that information from a graph. So there's like 4 or 5 of those to do. And then there's 3 of these. that we talked about this afternoon, where you try to get a couple things to all be true on a graph at the same time, some points, some one-sided limits, some two-sided limits, and maybe something with increasing, decreasing. These are the ones where your answers could look a little bit different, but you've got 3 of those. And then the back page looks like it has a lot to it, but it's actually just some past AP questions. So you can see like how they've asked this in the past, how difficult would it show up on the AP exam. I am perfectly fine with you crossing off question 3 on the back. So if you want to do it, that's great. But if you don't do question 3, that's the only one that would not impact your grade on here. And part of it is, this is what we will start talking about tomorrow, number 1. And number 2, I don't think most of you guys know what the greatest integer function is. And if it was on your AP exam, I would make sure you knew it, but they don't test it on the AP exam. So you don't have to know it. So just for our time purposes, I won't make you know it. So what I need from you guys, you've got 25 minutes of class. And I didn't have you do any homework yesterday. But tomorrow, at the very start of class, I'm going to ask you to turn in this number 4. So, did I talk about the grading of this yesterday? Okay. So, on these type of grades, I don't collect them, check them, grade them for accuracy, because that's something that you should be doing. I don't want you to, it take a week for you to find out that you were doing a bunch of it wrong. You need to figure it out as you're moving along. So, tomorrow, at the start of class, actually under bell work, I'll say, actually I already have it typed up. You can see it says turn in number 4. Make sure your name is on it. And so I'll have a little inbox, and I'll remind you of this tomorrow. But you need 2 things. It needs to be finished, so don't skip a question or 2. If you do that, it'll be partial credit, which is half credit for me. There's no reason for you to skip a question or 2. And you need to check your answers. So yesterday I had you sign up for 2 sites and bookmark our class website. So let me remind you, on your Chromebook, and in fact I would suggest you do this as you work on this. If you scroll down to this, number 4, this is assignment number 4. I don't know why you need a new copy, but you can have a second one if you want it. This is a link to somebody else going over the notes. So instead of me explaining it to you, if you want to hear it a second time from a different perspective, you can. But this is the winner right here, solutions. Part of your grade requires that you check your work and make corrections. If you do half of it wrong, I'm not doing you any favors by giving you full homework points. It's got to be completed and you need to make corrections. So if you want to work this whole worksheet out and then check your solutions and make corrections, that's fine. But I would suggest you check as you go along. That way if you're doing something wrong, you can correct it on the fly. And also, just in case you're interested, last year, one of my classes really wanted to know how to do that question 3 I told you didn't have to do on the back. You still don't have to do it for me, but if you just want to know mathematically, you're welcome to click that. It'll pull up a YouTube video. It's probably like a 2-minute YouTube video of me going over it. It's very direct. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, it's there. Yes, Maria?
When we're doing corrections, do you want us to do it with like a pen or?
It doesn't matter. I think it's as far as your grade's concerned, it doesn't. It doesn't matter for your grade. I think it's a bad habit to get in if you just erase the wrong answer and put the right answer, because when the test rolls around in a couple weeks, you look at this, you don't remember what you understood at first and what you missed. So I would suggest you either write a note about why you missed it, highlight the thing you overlooked, or at least circle the question so you remember, hey, I missed this the first time, maybe I should try it again before the test. But as far as your grade's concerned, I don't make you do that, but I think you should do that. Okay, so that's it. So other than me helping these last 20 minutes, you've got 20 minutes to chip away at this. If you don't quite finish it and check your answers and make corrections, then please make sure you do it before tomorrow so that you get full points on that first assignment. Also, just an extra little plug, this is completely optional, but if you know you need certain practice, like if you know you're not great at one-sided limits, I have that be a direct link straight to Khan Academy where you can practice just one-sided limits until you feel more comfortable. It's not a part of your grade right now, but if you know you need to practice, there's no reason to hold off and do it later. So, Now, until somebody asks, or if I see a common question that I feel like I need to address on the board, I'm certainly happy and encourage you, if you can work quietly with your neighbor, you're welcome to do that. Y'all can compare answers if you want to. You can discuss, why did you get this and I got that. I'm happy with all of that as long as your voice is quiet enough, it's not disruptive. And when I start working something on the board, if I need to work something on the board, that you give me your attention at the time. One sec, I need to check with them, so.
Okay, so one of these handouts, this is the syllabus, just kind of scan through and talk about your grade and language policies. This number 2, this is how you can sign up for Google Classroom in the middle and AP Classroom on the bottom. So do that for me as soon as you can, just make sure you use the 7th grade key. This website that I'm talking about that's supposed to help them is right here. This is my class website, so just pull that up on your Chromebook and bookmark it, because you'll need it practically every single day. Now, how to help you with what you missed last time, you might have been able to catch some of it. But you can see, we started talking about some of this last time. So,
on this class website, at the top, I always record our classes. So it records my screen, what I say, and it has a webcam pointed just at me. But if you click, this is the class website you're bookmarking. This 7th period link, if you click that, it'll take you to a YouTube video of our class from yesterday. So you can hear the things I talked about with the syllabus. You know, I gave them 5 minutes or something to sign up for those, so you probably could skip that. But then when I start talking about this, that's a good way for you to get the same information. Does that make sense? Leslie, you already done?
Yeah.
Check your answers?
Check them on myself,
How do you check them by yourself?
because I worked through and figured out if I was being done or not with an answer, and I try to like restart the problem from the beginning and figure out if I get the same.
Do you have your Chromebook?
I do have my Chromebook.
Okay, so you got almost 20 minutes. Check them the legit way, please.
So, I understand this, but my email still gets set up, so I can't delete it on my phone.
Oh, you don't have a Chromebook yet?
I have a Chromebook, but the email's messed up.
Okay. Can you pull up any websites at all? I don't think you need an email to be able to get to the class website.
Okay. And you turn this in person, right?
Yes, you'll turn it in person.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
and I hate to disrupt you guys, but there's lots of little things I like to tell you at the beginning of the year. Just in case this ever applies to you, obviously we do half because I only see y'all for half the time, but I do have a second and first period calculus class. So if you knew you were gonna miss and you had a chance to get ahead and you wanted to get ahead just to balance out with your other time, like if you knew you were gonna be absent today or something, this first and second period class did what both of these classes would do, if that makes sense. So you're welcome to watch those videos also if you'd rather. Just realize that it's a full 90-minute block instead of 2 45s, but it would be the same information, same assignments and all that kind of stuff, so. Just an option if it's ever helpful. So have any I can help with yet? You almost done already?
No,
No, you skipped. Okay, that's fine. I don't blame you. Mix it up a little bit. Alright, how about over here? Y'all doing okay still? Okay, I know y'all are playing catch up from yesterday, so you're probably a little bit behind, but is there anything I can help you figure out while you work here? You okay? Did y'all do pre-cal last year? You were in AP pre-cal? Okay, so, did you get an email from me about limits before summer started? Okay, so if you did that, 95% of this will be reviewed, and if you did first couple of weeks, you'll just have to dig in a little bit more. It's reviewed for most people. Alright, again, I have to bug y'all a lot the first several weeks until I trust you asking me for help with it. Y'all doing good? These workouts off. Anyone I can look at with me? Okay. As X approaches 2, right here, yeah, so from the right, it looks like it's getting close to Y value of 1, but from the left, you see how it doesn't even exist? There's no value right to the left of that, so does not exist and 2 are not the same thing, so just say does not exist.
Maybe I'm just how is
Oh, I think this one had a mistake on it, you're right. Someone pointed it out to me yesterday and I just didn't have time
something
to
like
look at it.
that would be right?
Let's see, do you have the point at negative 2.5? Does it approach 1 as x approaches 2? Oh, negative 2, yeah, that's fine. Does it approach 3 as x gets close to 4 from the right? Is it increasing when x is less than negative 2? And as x approaches 4 from the left, is that smaller than, yep, all that's true, so that's fine. Again, on those, you know, even if mine was wrong, but even if mine was right, there's a good chance they'll work because
Yeah.
as long as those things are true, so. So how'd it go? Did you miss anything? Alright, I'm gonna make it 2 out of it. Got 1 or 2 I can help with?
Because
Okay. Okay.
it has to finish